Falafel, good evening. This is our news bulletin for tonight. Firstly, yesterday, members of the Niue Legislative Assembly deliberated over the budget for 2013 to 2014 that was presented by the Public Expenditure Committee for its third reading. Finance Minister and Premier Toke Tahalangi supported the report that was presented by the Public Expenditure Committee Chairperson, Dautin Tangilangi, who summarized the need to address issues relating to revenue collection, changes because of the transformation process, and also key performance indicators. Once again, the issue of outstanding debts of over $2 million owed to the government was mentioned, with suggestions that these debts be removed, especially those dating back a few years, and also accounting for those owed by people who are now deceased. The first department that was scrutinized was the Premier's Department. Members of the House had a series of questions posed with explanations of the increase in some of the budget lines. The projected expenditure for the Premier's Department amounts to $2,659,000. Before the Assembly meeting went for recess, discussions moved on to the Crown Law Office that is normally part of the Premier's Department but has now become a standalone department, which is part of government's transformation process. The Crown Law budget approved for an amount of $275,000. Other department budgets that were discussed and approved: the administration, also known as the Niue Public Service Commission Secretariat, will get $1,095,000. Niue Treasury, $1,303,000. For Community Affairs, they will have a budget of $2,044,000. As for Taonga Niue, they will get $174,000. The next department budget to be discussed is the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, and remainder of departments when the Assembly meeting resumes on Monday next week. Niue Police are continuing to monitor drivers to ensure those who are on the roads have the proper licenses. Last week, Niue Police stopped a bus during their normal monitoring checks, where one driver admitted to driving without attaining a bus driver's license. In an act of goodwill, the Chief of Police made the call to get one of his officers who was licensed to take over driving duties that day to ensure children were picked up and returned to their homes while the driver worked towards getting the necessary license. Bus drivers fall into a special category that requires they undergo a particular process to ensure that they are healthy and capable to drive. Aside from the normal practical and theory tests, they must also undergo medical health checks. Chief of Police Tony Kossi says police has always taken a firm stance on bus drivers without licenses. Drivers' licenses are renewed every year, with license holders required to undergo medical checks every 6 months. That is monitored by police. An Education Department representative said that bus contractors sign a contract with the department at the beginning of each year and are required to submit annual medical certificates of each designated driver for general health and eyesight. Contractors are obligated to ensure all drivers are certified and have a valid driver's license. It is therefore the responsibility of the bus contractor to ensure the safety of the children by fulfilling the terms of the agreement and obligations. Niue Police and Education say that children's safety is paramount. Niue looks to be leading the way in meeting its obligations as a signatory to the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. This week, the Environment Department and United Nations Environmental Programme have held workshop trainings for various stakeholders to discuss the control of chemicals and technologies that are harmful to the ozone layer. Niue is one of 197 countries that have signed the protocol that was designed to reduce the production and consumption of ozone-depleting substances in order to reduce their abundance in the atmosphere and protect the Earth's fragile ozone layer. Part of discussions this week have focused on Niue's efforts or approach to phasing out ozone-depleting substances.
And the approach to the phase out that are harmful is on restricting the chemicals that are coming in through our borders. And so the process of this week was actually training on what is the Montreal Protocol as an international obligation that Niue is a party to, what is the ozone layer, how does the ozone layer protect all life on Earth, why we should protect the ozone layer, how is the ozone layer being depleted, what is the impact of that depletion on human health, like causing skin cancers and eye cataracts, the effect on our marine environment, our fishing sector, and what kind of technologies that are used, and these are principally the air condition and refrigeration technologies, the chemicals that are used as refrigerants, how do we manage the non-use of these technologies that are harmful to the ozone layer.
UNEP Representative Ati Dubri says, based on data from 2012, Niue has made great progress in phasing out harmful chemicals, with figures showing zero imports of any ozone-depleting chemicals or technology.
To congratulate Niue in that the country has taken the position ahead of every country in the world to stop the import of these harmful chemicals, at least based on the 2012 data. Now, during the training, we asked questions to the importers if they have been importing any of these chemicals for 2012, and the responses that we got back from the importers, they all indicate that they have not made any import on these harmful chemicals for the year 2013. So with that information, we believe that NUE is very much advanced in its obligation towards the protection of the ozone layer, and I must say advance over every other 197 parties to the Montreal Protocol. And so we feel very happy that if NUE continue with this position of not importing the harmful chemicals, then NUE will be a global leader in the protection of the ozone layer.
The challenge now will be to maintain the status and to continue with awareness campaigns in schools to educate students about the value of protecting the ozone layer and consequences we face if we do not work to maintain the ozone layer. Niue's Commonwealth team has just under a year before the Games in Glasgow, Scotland in 2014. According to Secretary-General Alan Tano, Niue has an allocation of 38 seats to Scotland for the Commonwealth Games, and Niue will field 5 sporting codes, 26 athletes and 12 officials. Mountain bike, lawn bowls, shooting, table tennis and weightlifting will feature at Glasgow. The closing of numerical entries for the 2014 Commonwealth Games has confirmed the entries for Niue. On to other sports developments, the mini-games in Wallace and Fortuna will cater the smallest delegation from Niue of only 3. Chef de mission with 1 athlete from weightlifting, Danny Nemani, and 1 for field events, local youngster Janam Hopotoa. Mr. Tano said 2 codes have been fined $1,000 each, rugby sevens and Vaka. And to other sports developments, on the calendar for 2013, Niskaga has now confirmed the arrival of the Queen's Baton Relay on the 13th of December with an expected 10 delegates. The baton will arrive on a commercial flight from Tonga through New Zealand and will depart the island on a charter flight to Norfolk Island. The Spin Touch tournament for October is now a TriNation competition as 3 teams confirmed to play in Niue. Stan Coloni of Niue Touch Rugby said the tournament will take place in October regardless of the reduction of number of countries involved. Originally 5 countries confirmed for last year's competition in Niue that was postponed to this year. However, only 3 countries will take part this year. Niue, Tonga and Papua New Guinea will take part in the TriNation Tournament on the 5th to the 9th of October. With 35 Niuean players from New Zealand expected to embark on the island for the tournament, Team Niue will consist of the Open Men's with 10 players from Niue and 4 from New Zealand. The Open Women's see a majority of the players from the island and 2 from New Zealand. Mr. Coloni said Niue Touch is very grateful to the assistance given by Niue Tourism through its NZ funds for sports tourism to host the majority of the costs for the tournament. He said the tournament has scaled down its spending, estimating just over $40,000. He also said the return for the economy will expect to reach $200,000 for the 1-week tournament. Arrangements for accommodation sees Alofi North hosting Tonga, La Kappa will host PNG, and the Niue team will be accommodated at Matavai. And that concludes our news bulletin for tonight. Do join us again for our next news bulletin next week, and we do hope that you have an enjoyable weekend ahead.